there was a certain chain of events that you were planning on coming home for the holidays to Cassville to see your family because you hadn't been home since January, but then some things happened and you weren't going to be able to do so.
I was going to have enough money to make it home for one of the holidays and not the other. I had $2,500 worth of my military gear stolen, and of course the government has to get their money back, so which left me a little bit behind where I wanted to be.
So your family has to be heartbroken hearing the news that, no, I'm not going to be able to come home for the holidays after all.
I was kind of scared. I didn't really want to put it off. I wasn't in a hurry to tell my mom and the rest of my family that I wasn't coming home for the holidays, especially, they haven't seen me since January.
And then all of a sudden you get a text from your mother that a complete stranger, just by happenstance, was talking to your mom, found out you weren't coming home, and is now paying for you to come home for the holidays. What even goes through your mind when you get that message?
Honestly, I didn't know what to say. I didn't get the text message right away, but when I did open it, I read it over and over again, thinking that almost that I wasn't reading it correctly. And the only thing I could say was give the man a hug for me. He made it possible, or is making it possible, that I can come home for the holidays and see my family.
And I mean, that's got to be beyond words.
Absolutely. My mom's not very familiar with this man. I wish there was some way that I could get in contact with him, and then when I do come home for Thanksgiving, I'd like to shake his hand and sit down and talk with him for a little bit.
We know him as Dave J. We hopefully can make a reunion at Thanksgiving, which will be a happy one. We can't wait for you to come home for the holidays. I'm sure your family's a little bit more pumped than the rest of us.
Mom said she cried and over throughout the day. It'll be almost 11 months since I've seen any part of my family at all.
I know you're a corporal in the Marines, but you can admit it. You had a few tears too, didn't you?
It kind of set me back. Nowadays you don't really hear about nice people doing kind things like that. There's a lot of bad going on in the world. It's kind of nice that somebody took the time, the energy, and some extra money that they had to make something like this possible.
So I know your family's listening. What have you got to say to them this morning?
Well, I love them and I miss them. I'm out here in the middle of the desert. I mean, it's probably a little bit warmer here than it is there.
Don't rub it in, Ed.
Yeah, you guys can keep the cold.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Pack your coat when you come home for Thanksgiving. You're going to need it.
I planned on it.
All right. And your last message for our stranger, Dave J.
I can't thank you enough. It is truly awesome. I plan on thanking you again in person, being able to shake your hand and sit down and have a conversation with you. It's just an eye-opener, hopefully to everybody that's listening, some decent people out there in the world still.